I'm talking about this not because I want to demotivate you for the rest of your life. No, because this is New Year's coming soon, and it's time to make plans for the next year. And when you make plans, you need to remember the tools that you're going to use to make this plan work for you. And when you are choosing these instruments, you are facing this problem. To choose the first way to always look for motivation, or to choose the other way and to discipline yourself, make plans, and be concrete in what you're doing. And that's why I really encourage you to think about this and think about what instrument you will choose for you and for your 2017 plans, and to try it out. Probably you will think that this is something not really true, but let's try. Try it for 3 months, and if it doesn't work, go back to motivation and go back to procrastination. Thank you.
Okay, we are moving forward, and the next speaker is Lyudmila Krasnitska. Yeah, just welcome her.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Luda. In 2008, I took part in the Practice CACTUS seminar that was then called a WELL seminar, workshop in the English language and leadership. And then in 2010, and 11, I was a CACTUS participant. In 2012 in 2012, I was a staff member at the CACTUS Summer Forum, and then in 2013 and 14, I co-directed the CACTUS program. I'm very happy to be here, super nervous, sorry if I say something silly. And I'm very happy to see everyone that I haven't seen in a long time, and I'm excited to meet everyone I haven't met yet. So before I begin, I'd like you to get out your smartphones or tablets or computers and connect to the America House Wi-Fi. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I really like Pinterest. I like Facebook and Twitter too, but I like Pinterest because I think that Pinterest is a very open and independent community. I actually have no idea who the people whose boards I'm following are, and I have no idea who my followers are. And I think that Pinterest is a place where you don't have to think for too long before you post something, because nobody knows you. And I feel like I am on a... Yeah, sorry.
Can I add something? If you have the opportunity to use 3G internet, use it. Don't connect to America House internet. Sorry.
Okay.
You ruined Luda's plan to crash the network.
Yeah, so back to Pinterest. So every time I am on Pinterest, I feel like I am on a different digital planet. I don't know, for some reason, it's a very special place for me online. I am definitely not addicted to Pinterest, and I only use it for two things. I use it to look at people's tattoos, and I use it to look at people's piercings. So before I start to share my ideas with you, I'd like you to tell me what you see in this picture. And to do it, please can you go to the website that I opened? In the browser. Uh-oh. I do presentations really well, right? Yes. So, can you please, in your browser, type this? Or you could type goo.gl/V, lowercase v, capital U for.
Luda, why don't people just shout out what they think?
What do you guys see? What can you see in this picture?
Tattoo.
Tattoo, okay.
The world?
Feet.
The world. Feet, someone's feet.
Someone's feet, yeah.
A chair. It looks like they're a traveler.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, there is no right or wrong answer, and I think it all depends on our perception and interpretation. And as for me, I see my home tattooed on someone's feet, but I see my home, and the home that I've only seen 5.56% of, but my goal is by the end of my life to see all of it, or at least most of it, and I hope that that's your goal too. And I don't know about you guys, but when I am in someone else's house or apartment, there's always a favorite place that I have there. If they have heated floors in the bathroom, that's usually my favorite room. If they don't, I find a cozy place in their room, and that's where I spend most of the time. So my favorite place in the global home is Ukraine. But if you have a favorite place at home, it doesn't mean that the rest of the rooms don't exist. Or that you need to shut your door and never come out of your room and never talk to your family. And even when your dad cooks something in the kitchen and he burns it and the whole house smells, you still kind of tolerate it. And you still live in that house and you still somehow live there. And you tolerate your younger sibling leaving stuff on the bathroom sink. And then your mom, when she yells at you for dyeing your hair and hating your hair color, because when she was growing up, nobody would ever think about doing anything like that to themselves. You still tolerate all of these things. And you also, every single time you do something around that house, you think about how it's going to affect them. I would be the happiest person in the world if every person that I know had the same views on our global home and how they have to live in the world. That's why I am here to tell you that I think that everybody should be a global citizen. So I'm really happy that there is no official definition of what global citizenship is, because it gives us freedom to come up with our own definition. I stole a definition, of course, from UNESCO. And so UNESCO tells us that global citizenship refers to a sense of belonging to a broader community and common humanity. It emphasizes political, economic, social, and cultural interdependency and interconnectedness between the local, the national, and the global. And Oxfam, which is a confederation of 19 organizations who fight extreme poverty in the world, tells us that a global citizen is someone who is aware of a wider world and has a sense of their own role as a world citizen. They have an understanding of how the world works. They are outraged by social injustice. They participate in the community at a range of levels, from the local to the global, and they address issues through the global lens. And they're willing to act to make the world a more sustainable place. They take responsibility for their actions, and they respect and value diversity. When it is very clear what a citizen means, and we usually use that word referring to different countries, different nations, the word global here is a little bit confusing. I don't know about you guys, but to me, global is like one of those words, like eternal, that you just cannot grasp until you actually become a global citizen. And I'd like to focus a little bit more on valuing diversity and looking for diversity in the world, because I think that the very first time when I had a strong feeling of being a part of this world was when I was in a very unusual situation for me, and when I was in a place that I wasn't used to. So I travel, and I still get a very strong feeling of how diverse the world is when I go to a country, for example, that's very different from Ukraine. So like to a Muslim country, Turkey, or like Kazakhstan. So I noticed that every time I'm in a very unfamiliar situation, the first thing that and it's usually because of the people, I think, the first thing that I notice myself feeling is fear. And so if you're like me, I think that my advice would be to try to focus on things that unite you with these people and not things that separate you from them. And so I always try to think about it this way. Every person can only feel an X amount of emotion or an X number of different emotions. And it's true for all the people. It's because that's our it's physiologically how we're built, right? And so anywhere you go, people will experience the same emotions. Of course, it's different how we express these emotions, and with time you will get used to a new place and new people, and you learn how they express their emotions. But for example, if you are somewhere in the woods and you see an animal that you don't even know what it is, and you don't know how they're going to act, well, with people it's different because you know what to expect from them. So that's probably the first thing that I do when I am in an unfamiliar situation and I experience fear. Global citizenship gives learning meaning by being exciting, relevant, and grounded in real-life scenarios. It challenges misinformation and stereotyped views. An example of a global citizen is my friend Suren, who is Armenian, and despite the feelings that his nation, his country has for Turkey because of the Armenian genocide, he last year decided to go to Turkey and to see what this country is like. And he said, I won't be angry, I just want to meet people there, and I want to experience Turkey. And we had a wonderful time. Global citizenship also acknowledges that we have powers as individuals. Each of us can change things, and each of us has choices about how to behave. But this power can be even greater when we work collectively. An example of a global citizen is my friend Arzu, who is from Azerbaijan, and she chooses not to be angry with Armenians, and instead she started an initiative with her Armenian friends, because you know of the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh. And so Arzu and her Armenian friends started an initiative called Imagine Center, where they bring young Azeris and Armenians to Georgia, and they unite them by community service projects, or just different workshops and things like that. Global citizenship demonstrates how the world we live in is unfair and unequal, but promotes challenging and changing this. It encourages us to recognize our responsibilities towards each other and learn from each other. You learn something new about yourself and about the world from every single person you meet. In May, I met a young man in Turkey, and it was a Turkish restaurant. He was a waiter there, and the very first thing he asked me was, "You German? German people is very yellow. Your hair yellow, your skin yellow. But yellow is good." And then, and it was very strange in the very beginning, and it was a little bit unusual. But then we became friends. I was the only person in that restaurant, and he started talking to me. And he told me that he is Kurdish, he is from Eastern Turkey. And he told me about his family, and he told me that he came to Istanbul because he wanted to earn money to send back to his family. And he showed me all the pictures on his phone. I was so tired, but he showed me every single picture that he has. And now, with everything that's going on in Turkey, I can't just be indifferent. I think about him all the time, and I think about his family, and I hope that next time I go to Turkey, and I go to that same cafe of Istiklal, one of the main streets of Istanbul, and I hope to see him there and to look through the new pictures on his phone. Even if it's a million pictures, I want him to be there, and I hope that everything is okay with him. Global citizenship will make it possible for anyone to feel at home in any country. Recently, my friend and I were talking about a YouTube video that I saw, and the man in the video is American who lives in China. He's been living there for 7 years. He is married to a Chinese woman, and they have a baby. And he was in the video, he was talking about how he doesn't want to take Chinese citizenship. And he was talking about how even if you're married to a Chinese person and even if you're granted Chinese citizenship, you will still not have the same privileges and the same, you will not have the same access to, for example, different resources, for example, medical or, I don't know, you will not have discounts or something like that. Basically, you will still be treated as a foreigner even though you've been living there forever and are married to and have a family in China. And unfortunately, even though in Ukraine it's a little bit different, and if you have Ukrainian citizenship and or you're married to someone, you've been living here for a long time, you will still get some sort of perks that Ukrainian citizens have as a foreigner. Or if you take Ukrainian citizenship, and you will be treated as a Ukrainian citizen on paper, and you will have access to all of these services that are available for Ukrainian citizens. Socially, you will not be easily accepted. And my friend, who I had a conversation with about this, said that even if he moved to Ukraine, it would be very hard for him to become Ukrainian. That's why we need global citizenship. That's why we need to become global citizens, to not let it happen. We're just not open-minded enough to let people into our society. So my biggest dream is for it to change. Unfortunately, not all of the people who want to who become global citizens because they want to do it. Some people are actually forced to become global citizens. There is a project that I saw at the New York Modern Art Museum, and it's called Mapping Journey Project. And it's basically a series of videos of 8 individuals who were forced because of some political and economic reasons to travel illegally. And so in the video, they mark on the map, for example, where they started traveling from and where they got, and all of this was illegally, and all of this was because they were running from something and they were in danger. That's why we need global citizenship. We should not let this happen again, ever in the future. Oh, by the way, this project was created by Bukhra Kahili, if you want to look it up later. And now we'll finish with how you can become a global citizen. So you, and I'll ask Ksusha to help me. So one of the things you could do is be an example that people will want to follow, like Ksusha. Then you could promote global citizenship education. Learn about yourself and others. Write down how you feel about people and how you feel about circumstances, and keep that memory, and write about people you want to keep in life. Curiosity is key. I actually think that people who are curious are a lot smarter than people who are smart. Think about it. Learning about other places and cultures online if you cannot travel. And accepting other people in your home community, even if it's inviting your Nigerian friend to meet your family, for example, and then your younger brothers become best friends with him, and then they watch Indian movies together, and your grandma calls him Nisanochak. And something else that you could do is simply following the laws. Like you could download the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on your phone, and you could have it everywhere, and then you could refer to it whenever. And it is a law, so you can, I mean, not technically, but it's kind of like a law. And so you could follow the laws, and that will help you to become a global citizen. Most of all, I would say educate yourself, be curious and open-minded, and then there will be nothing weird for you in the world, and you will not make any silly mistakes like going to a mosque wearing shorts and then being kicked out. I'm not saying that you have to move to Costa Rica tomorrow, for example. No, I'm just saying that you should educate yourself, try to get out of your comfort zone, because that's when all of the magic happens. And then also you could join people who address issues that are bothering you. It's the easiest, it's very easy actually when you're working with someone, because there will always be someone to support you when things get tough. Do not stop, shift your perspective, and have a sense of belonging to the global community. There are a few more practical resources that we would like to share with you guys, and one of them is, and it's one of the websites that I opened too. So one of them is Global Village that Ksusha is an alumna of, and she'll basically answer 3 questions that I'm going to ask her, and if you want, we can send you the links later, and I'm sure that at Cactus Forum you talk about it, or Practice Cactus you talk about it, but basically, okay, question number 1, what is Global Village?
Thank you, Duda. So, hi guys. Global Village is an international business and leadership program. It's 5 weeks. It happens in the States, in Lehigh University, Pennsylvania. And it's basically for young professionals, for people who are graduating from the university or already on the jobs. And it's about the world and about the business and about you.
What was the second question I was going to ask? Oh, who can apply? Yeah, who can apply for Global Village?
Basically, anyone can apply for Global Village, but for Ukraine, they have scholarships only for Flex alumni. So if you're a Flex alumni, you're eligible. If you're not, wait for it a little bit. And I know people who were from Ukraine who were on this program, and their companies paid for them, or they paid themselves. So if you're in a good company and they want to support your progress and your growth, that's a possibility. You can say, hey, can you send me to Global Village?
And what was the most exciting thing that happened to you during or after Global Village?
When I applied for Global Village, it was one of the most interesting applications that I filled in. It allowed me to reflect on myself a lot, to reflect on the way I see myself, to reflect on the way people see me. And one of the questions that they had was to describe myself in 5 words. And of course, I thought a lot about that, and I think the first word that I wrote was global citizen. The second one was Ukrainian. And after the program, I realized that I was wrong. When I came to the program, I was not a global citizen at all. After the program, maybe, but there's still a long way to go. So global citizenship is a process, and you just learn it when you meet people from, I had participants from 45 countries. And when you meet people from Afghanistan or Puerto Rico or Chile or your neighbor in Moldova, and you learn so much from them, that's when you become a global citizen.
Thank you, Ksusha. So this is something to consider in a few years. If you want to, it's a summer program, so you don't have to skip any classes or anything like that. Then something else that you could do is European Voluntary Service that Uliana did, and you can talk to her later. It's again a program for European youth, and it gives you an opportunity to travel and volunteer in a foreign country. One of the websites that I have opened is Amnesty, where it says Marathon. A very, very simple thing that you could do is read about people whose rights have been violated and who haven't been helped. And you could sign a petition, or you could write a letter to them, or you could write a letter to someone who can actually help them either be free or stop being discriminated against. So you could do it even now after we finish. Amnesty International is running a campaign that's called Letter Writing Marathon right now. So you could join their campaign, and you could even sign everything online. You don't even need to go anywhere. So consider this during the break. And then the very last thing, and I don't have it open here, but there's a website called Worldwide Helpers. I was always very discouraged by volunteer experiences where you need to pay to work for free for someone. So Worldwide Helpers gives you, they have like a database of projects, and they tell you about projects that you don't have to pay for to volunteer. And I actually found a project, for example, in Vietnam that I would like to join later, and I think I will do it. And there's, of course, reviews and everything. All right, so I am not going to be boring you anymore. Can we go back to the PowerPoint? Thank you. Can someone read this number, please? 3,468,000. Yes. So I think it's something like 3,575,468,962. This is how many people in the world have tattoos, right? Really strange that I'm talking about it now. And this is this is data that I got, and it was I think February this year when this was posted. Pinterest gives you a whole bunch, thousands and thousands of tattoo ideas for world maps. So if you're just as optimistic as I am, then people who have world map tattoos are really global citizens. And there's a huge community that you could join, and you're not going to be alone. And I encourage you guys to join that community. I know that sometimes it might be challenging, and it might be sometimes you will feel like you will want to give up, but please don't stay in your favorite place in your house. Don't stay in your room. Open the door and go out and be part of this huge community. Thank you.
Okay, next one is Uliana Furif. And you can read her motto. Yeah, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, welcome, Uliana.
Thank you. All right, Luda, this was a wonderful speech. I kind of just wish that we had a round of questions. So I'm going, I guess, to start with my speech. My name is Uliana Furif, and some of you might know me, some of you might not, some of you might have just recognized me right now, as I see from some faces. So I was a director of Cactus in 2011 and 13. And I would like to say on behalf of all directors and all the people who deeply care about Cactus, the new Cactus team did a wonderful job by making Cactus an NGO, by making our dream come true. So let's please give them another round of applause for this. Good job, really. And right now I will get back to my speech and what I'm actually going to talk about. So a few weeks ago I received a message from Rosa saying that she would like to invite me as a speaker to this event, and I immediately asked her about the peculiarities of the speech and how it's going to look like, and she said it's going to be around 20 minutes, and I immediately thought about TED Talk. And you guys are familiar with TED Talks? Yeah, you know, those people, they speak for 20 minutes and every single word that comes out of their mouth makes sense. It's so meaningful. And I thought, what could I possibly tell them that would make sense? And when I think about TED Talks, usually what resonates with me when I look at them is for the people who deliver those TED Talks. They are very passionate about what they talk about. They are really inspired. They breathe what they talk about. So what inspires me? And what makes me qualified to talk to you today? I think what inspires me is education, knowledge, and learning. And Cactus, even though it has changed a lot, the core value of Cactus hasn't changed. And the core value of Cactus is to empower Ukrainian youth with knowledge and learning capacities to make change in the Ukrainian community and possibly in the world. So as I mentioned before, knowledge is something that underpins Cactus. And knowledge has many synonyms like learning, education, skill, capacities. And even though these synonyms, they're somewhat different, they are all surrounded around the same idea. And the idea is that they all contribute to the development of a person. So this is what inspires me, the development of the person. And today, I would like to talk about my passion in particular. So, excuse me, very nervous, getting back on track with my speech. So these concepts, as I said, make me hungry every day. They make me very passionate. They make me stand up every single day in the morning and do something about education and learning in this world. And often in my life, I meet people who are reluctant to changes, who do not believe that education, knowledge, learning can change the world, can change the society, can change us. And I am a true believer that these concepts can make a big difference in our societies, in our worlds, maybe even in the universe. And people who I meet who are reluctant to changes often justify things like plagiarism or corruption with words like, yeah, it is just embedded in our culture. It is just part of our culture. And I always question them, but who imposes that culture? Who creates that culture? Isn't it us? Isn't it the people? So who is responsible for changing the culture, making the culture be a knowledge culture, making the economy be a knowledge economy? Of course, it's us. And it's our responsibility to change our culture with knowledge, with skills, so that our world is not grounded on corruption and plagiarism. So, because of such mindsets, I believe that education has become a formality in our society. Something that could be easily acquired through money or through little effort. And education is, in a lot of ways, it almost equals with something very material. So getting education means getting that piece of paper, that degree, that diploma, right? Guys, what does education mean to you? Knowledge. All right, knowledge. Somebody said yes.
Being prepared to handle situations in the future using your own resources and your own brains.
Good, thank you. Another ideas?
Learning to think.
Learning, very good concept. Yeah?
Something you have to do yourself if you want to do it right.
So education is something that you have to do yourself if you want to do it right. Okay?
Lifelong process.
Lifelong process. This is education, you say, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've heard a lot of ideas, and actually I came to talk to you about something different, and I differentiate two words, which is education and learning. And I came to believe that education, for some reason, is not present in learning process. And we may seem to be the fourth most education nation in the world. We may spend around 5.3% of our GDP on education and research, and we may seem to be a very educated nation, but what does it mean to be an students who are qualified, who are capable of resolving problems, who are critical thinking, etc. And I came to believe that learning was something very different from education, that it was not present in our education system.
record, never write it this in your motivations. Okay? By some chance, I got the job. Later, I learned that the other girl that was supposed to be on my place, she couldn't make it, so they just had no choice as to take me. And together with my coordinator, Ira, we recruited volunteers, we trained them, we coordinated them for the whole month of June, and I should say it was one of the happiest months in my life. Mm-hmm. We created a real team, we bonded together, we celebrated birthdays together, we celebrated Ukrainian victories together, and also defeats. And we even have an unofficial motto. On the back of our t-shirts is said team. And we saw that, okay, team, together, everyone achieves more. And so, it wasn't my dream job. When I applied, I never thought that it's my dream job, but I made it my dream job. The world is changing very fast. The job, the workplace is changing. Now you don't have to work for your whole life in one company or on one plant. You can change your positions and your jobs and your preferences all the time. 45%. That's the amount of jobs in the States that can be automated and robotized. That's why we have a robot. And according to the research, according to the Guardian New Jobs review, around from 45 to 70 million jobs will disappear. Like not jobs, but like workplaces will disappear in the next 20 years. That means that a lot of new jobs will appear instead of those. And it means that maybe what you're learning right now at your university is not going to be valid when you graduate. That's what happened with me. That's what happened with a lot of my friends. Of course, luckily, now you can learn for your whole life and you have online courses that you can apply for. So this is the online course that I took. It was Dan Ariely's course on behavioral change for social entrepreneurs. And one of our first tasks was to introduce ourselves. And we had this wonderful board, and people from the whole world introduced themselves. And I was fascinated when I read this board. I was so amazed how many interesting jobs there are in the world. For example, indie mobile app development consultant, or a behavioral insights consultant in Buenos Aires city administration, or a moving therapist, or a social entrepreneur in Africa, or an MBA student working in a startup. There are so many applications for your knowledge and for your talents than the typical lawyer's or economist degree. Sorry. Ina's not just a lawyer, that's for the record. So it's up to you to explore all those opportunities and to find your niche in this world. But you're all around 19, 20, right? Maybe even a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older. What do you do? How do you understand what to do? What to do with your life? How do you understand when you're 16? How do you choose your profession, right? Here I will employ the wisdom of 3 men that I really respect. And the first one is my favorite YouTube creator, Casey Neistat. And Casey had a very interesting life. He was born in a small city in Connecticut. He had his son when he was 16. He dropped school. He never graduated from school. And then he moved to New York to work and earn the living for himself and for his son. And for a very long time, he worked just as a guy washing washer, at the restaurant, at the fish restaurant. And during this whole time, he fantasized of becoming a filmmaker. He fantasized of becoming, of doing his own videos. And that's what he said about that experience. The best way to find what you love in life is doing something that you hate. He did it for, I think, 5 or 7 years. And then he became a filmmaker. Right now, he's one of the most popular YouTube stars in the world. He had his daily vlog. He has millions of views on YouTube, and he's just amazing. Just check out his YouTube channel. So he never knew he knew what he wanted to do, but at first he didn't get it. Another guy that I really like is Louis C.K. He's a comedian. I didn't quote him because some of his vocabulary is not appropriate in this kind of setting. But if to rephrase what he was saying, he said that, okay, you guys, 20 years old, why are you so unhappy working your crappy jobs in the restaurant, being like waiters in the restaurants or at the supermarkets? Why are you so unhappy? Of course, this is not the best job in the world. It's actually definitely not the best job in the world, but you're 20 years old. You have the whole life in front of you, and you don't have enough experience. So first you have to experience this not the best job in the world, and next you will understand what you want to do. And the third man is, of course, Steve Jobs. You probably recognized him. And he said that everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you, and you can change it. You can influence it. And the moment you internalize this thought, the moment you think really, really deep into what he said, it's going to change you. You're not going to be the same anymore. And so what can I tell you if I were you? What would be my advice for myself when I was your age? It would be just start doing something. Get just whatever job you want, you can get, and then by working, by reflecting on it, realize what you want to do with your life. And of course, there are people that cannot stay on one track for their whole life. Those people are called scanners. You probably know them. They switch from one thing to another thing. They always get the new interest. They always fall in love with a different thing. They travel the world. They can stay in one place, in one company, on one task. Those people are scanners, and they have their own path. Other people, oops. Oh no. Okay. Sorry. Other people. There was a slide. Are like my brother, Dima. He's younger, and he knew that he's going to be a classical pianist since, I don't know, 13 or 14. And he follows this track. He is a person laser. He has this laser focus, and he follows it for his whole life. And he works very hard every day to become a better pianist. And he succeeds in this. One of the things that helped me to understand, okay, what I want to do with my life, what can be my purpose, and how can I find a job that suits my purpose, is understand what I love doing, what I'm good at, what I can be paid for, and what the world needs. When all these 4 circles intersect, that's probably where you should aim. And I want to leave you with this one thought. It's a thought, and it's also an open question for you. Don't look for your dream job. you probably are not going to find it. Just create it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're done with this official part. Now we have some coffee and tea outside in the lobby. And actually, coffee break is pretty long, like almost for an hour. This is time for a lot of chatting, pictures, questions to the speakers, I don't know, whatever else. And yeah, we'll have some food as well, but a bit later. So just keep your eyes on the table there. So when some food appears, we won't miss it. Okay, thank you, and yeah, welcome to Coffee Break. Yeah, and one more thing, just Luda said a really nice suggestion that you can go around America House. They have really nice rooms here and to explore it more. Idea box. Yeah, idea box. Короче,